as well as now our new supervisors. And it blows my mind that they have a $4.2 billion budget every year. And Ray, I'm talking about your budget.
Okay.
And boy, is that worth paying attention to. So we are lucky to have him here. Shall I launch?
Elsa, I'm just going to say yes. Why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Great. Welcome, Ray. We are so glad you could be here. And I'm so impressed that it's less than a month into the job, and yet you're taking time to come see us, particularly in what's been going on the coast right now. We know you've been living there. We see you early and often on all the newscasts. Ray has been in this area a long time, a good long time, thank heavens, San Mateo County, and he lives in Menlo Park right now. The first thing that I spotted about him that was so impressive was he was Joe Simidian's chief of staff when Joe was on the city council, well, which he is now too, and mayor. And he had already been state senator at that point. And I think many of us know the caliber of people that Joe lets be on his staff in the first place. So to meet this fellow, Ray Mueller, who'd been his chief of staff, was a big deal, I think. Ray does live in Menlo Park and has been mayor, as well as is currently, or was until a month ago, city councilor as well. And luckily, he also represents my area. So I love that too. And I've seen him a couple of times. But it wasn't until we started interviewing both supervisors as well as candidates for supervisor via Fixin' San Mateo County that I got to see him up close. And in that interview, I'm frozen, right? Well, that's
okay.
Sorry.
We can hear you. We can hear you, but yes, your video has been turned off.
Well, it's not off, but the internet's
to us. Yeah,
anyway,
we can't see you.
we can see Ray. That's the important point. And in that interview, I came away, he gave us the most amazing advice on other candidates, actually, and on other races that as private individuals we were interested in. And I came away saying that is the most strategic brain and experience base that I have met in the Bay Area. And to have you here, Ray, and that knowledgeable about so much from such a broad experience base, as well as your very analytical and strategic brain, is such a gift. Now to have you as one of the supervisors managing that $4.2 billion budget, boy, do we have high expectations for you, as you will hear in the Q&A too. I also do think that his friend, Josh Becker, our state senator, has a very good strategic noggin as well. And they were high school buddies. So, and there's something about sweethearts going back and forth too. So I just, I can't be more grateful that you're here, particularly during this awkward, awful time of what's happening on the coast. And I'll just say one other thing. Ray was amazingly, unanimously is too strong a word, but fervently supported by everybody on the coast, despite not having the coast in his territory at that point as a city councilor. And yet we still have someone who's not muted. And yet to have him in this role, living on the coast for the last few weeks, because they adore him so much, they know him so well. And to have him put his heart and soul where he knows it's most needed, despite it not being in his territory, was the kind of, quote, politician I'd love to have. Over to Ray. Thanks so much for coming.
Well, thank you so much. And that introduction was too generous. It was really very, very kind. And I'm very grateful, and I'm very honored to be with all of you this evening to sort of to update you all on what we're working on. And if I talk softly, please go ahead and put your hands up, because I tend to be a soft talker on video. So just real quick, I wanted to go ahead and just share with people right now, sort of interested in what has happened in the last 30 days. So I can sort of give an overview of that. I was fortunate on, so I was scheduled to be sworn in on January 3rd. And that was going to be a day after actually I started the job on the 2nd. And I was with my family at Disneyland on the 30th, and I got a call that said, we're swearing you in today. And the reason why was because we had these massive storms coming. And so was sworn in early on the 30th and found myself in my first week without any staff for the next 2.5 weeks, responding to a natural hazard event. And I have to say that was an experience. I like to say I was baptism by storm, where we were really trying to learn everything that was happening on the coast and throughout the district and respond to it real time. In my background, I've spent the last 3 years as the general counsel for an emergency management firm that does national work. So fortunately, had some wonderful people to draw on outside of the county, but I have to tell you, internally inside the county, amazing people to work with. But we discovered in the campaign, I had talked about the fact that we needed to update our infrastructure on the coast, that it had fallen behind. And the reason why is because the economies go up and down on the coast, and you do a lot of whenever strategic planning gets done, the economy immediately crashes and you never get the project done. And so what happened on the coast in areas is that we saw all sorts of failures because everything was put to its limits and then failed. And we saw that happen with it almost happened with the sewage treatment plant in the mid-coast. It actually had water go into that plant and almost shut down. And we have a lot of work to do to build resilience for that plant. We saw road failures in multiple places throughout the coast. We saw flooding, catastrophic flooding happen specifically in Pescadero and in Half Moon Bay. We saw we had power outage failures in some places up to 12 days. We had, which was shocking to me, we had a situation where a power line was knocked down by a tree in La Honda, and that power line has in it a cable that provides connectivity to the entire coast, upon which Verizon piggybacks. So when the crew that was cleaning that up cut that cable, they knocked out connectivity to the entire coast. And for some people, they lost their 911. And so we had to problem solve all of these things, in addition to having in the midst of this, the 92 go out with a giant sinkhole. And so had to problem solve that. So a ton of work, a ton of great work. And I can tell you how we solved all of that piece by piece, if you have those questions, in real time. But what it did was it re-emphasized the fact that we need to create a coast, what I call a CRISP, a Coastal Resilient Infrastructure Strategic Plan, where we take all of the infrastructure projects on the coast and put them into a GIS map up and down the coast, regardless of district, and then rank them. And when we do that, we can go ahead and then work with our federal and state partners and with the county and with those jurisdictions, figure out which ones need to go first to make the coast resilient. So we are embarking on that now. I'm happy to say that CRISP is actually started to have been created. The One Shoreline Board, which I have been put on, is working on that now, creating that, and RCD is going to put their projects in it, and we're going to fill everyone's projects into it. So we've already embarked on making the coast more resilient. We had have it also highlighted tremendous equity issues that we had, but it also highlighted reporting issues we had. So coming out of this, what I'll say to you all, first and foremost, because we're still recovering from those storms, is that if you have suffered damage in that, I'm happy to report, or you know someone who suffered damage, we can help you now. So we were able to get finally put into the FEMA declaration for individual assistance for homeowners. And I have to tell you, that was a lot of work because other jurisdictions in the state of California were put in. And one day I went to our county manager and I said, well, why aren't we in yet? And he said, well, we haven't hit the threshold value to be included. And I said, Mike, if the post was without connectivity, how would people know who to call or report to get into it? And so we had to go and do a lot of outreach once connectivity came back up to get those reports in to meet that threshold value. But we were able to get there. So we can help people with that. And Congresswoman Eshoo and Senator Padilla were incredibly helpful with that, with getting us into that declaration. And we can do it now for small business too. So if you know small businesses that were affected, we were able to get into that too. And right now we're working to get assistance for public entities. But it's been slower. And again, I think it's been slower than other areas because frankly, people had a hard time reporting it in. So that's all great. Another program that we're working on right now is fire resilience. We'll be rolling out a plan in the March, April, May time period to let people know how to actually get their fire insurance back. The state of California has passed a plan that allows people to get fire insurance back if they create the proper safe distance from shrubs and fire danger and fire risk foliage. And if the county can show that we've done the work to mitigate that. And so coming into office, I said, people started telling me all these fire mitigation projects. And I said, well, that's great. Can you show me them on a map? And the answer was no. So we are creating a GIS map with FireSafe and with RCD and with other stakeholders to put all of those resilience projects into one place so we can go and show those that make those decisions, what mitigation projects we've done to correspond to that legislation so people can get their fire insurance back. And it's also going to require some zoning changes and home hardening, but I'm really excited about that because all of those things are going to make our county safer from fire and protect us. I think people have probably followed the mass shootings that happened recently in Half Moon Bay, which have been an incredibly tragic situation. We were very fortunate to have our governor come and our state delegation and our federal delegation, and people are wrapping their arms around what we do with respect to gun violence. At the county level, I've been very focused on the conditions that I saw at that farm and the information reported to me from our farm worker advocates who worked with people immediately coming out of those farms. And what I can tell you that I saw personally at that farm disturbed me enough that I while upset, posted pictures of what I saw online. And that has resulted in way too much press that I really don't enjoy. But it's also pushed, we also are pushing as a county now to change how we approach farm worker housing in our county. And I can tell you that that process, our governor is interested in and engaging and working with us on. Our state and federal legislators are interested in working on, and I really believe that in the next 90 days, we're going to be embarking on something that will be a beacon to the rest of the state. And just today, I had a stakeholder in Santa Clara County reach out and say, hey, can we be a part of this too? So there's something special happening there. And I also want to share with you all that our farmers, interestingly enough, our farmers are contacting me saying, look, we've been stuck in this terrible paradigm. And we want a program where, just like you allow people to self-report ADUs and get them built up, we want a program where we can self-report to you and work with the county to improve the housing on our sites, and that we can go ahead then and then if within that time period, if they don't report, then the county's going to come down hard on people. We're also, though, building, and this is the thing that I think is most important, we are going to build permanent affordable housing projects for farmers and get them off those farms. So it is time to get them off those farms. And when we do that, we're going to take that burden away from farmers as well. And in all of those plans, I want to build a co-op distribution center on the coast that allows farmers and ranchers to bring all their goods to one place and get it on one pallet and bring it to market so that we're competitive with other regions in California. So we have a lot of great work going on there. There's a whole sorts of work I can talk about that we're doing with our Parks Department, which is going to make the coast, that's going to protect the environment, make the coast a lot more accessible. And then I haven't even talked about the Bayside. We have wonderful projects taking place right now in San Carlos that I'm a part of. We're trying to connect a trail from San Carlos out up to Water Dog Park. We're trying to get out to small business owners in those areas who are terribly affected by these storms. There's just a ton of work that we've embarked on fast and furiously as a result of the last 30 days. And so that's sort of a general flavor of what we've been doing. I also wanted to share with you all real quickly, I am so proud of the staff we've assembled. I was fortunate to hire Dr. Marisol Escalera, who worked managing migrant services education in Santa Clara County. She joined my staff, and I am so honored to have her. And she has all sorts of connections in the Half Moon Bay and Pescadero area and just hit the ground running. We're going to do outreach a little differently. I believe strongly in telling stories to move policy and put pressure on people. So I hired a senior film director from Meta as my communications person. His name is Anthony Roberts. He lives in Montera. I love him. He also used to teach surf classes, which is a lot of fun. And we are going to go and tell stories. When you see press releases from us, there's going to be video documentary telling a story, which I think is so important these days, how we communicate with people. And then I was very fortunate to hire a senior policy aide away from Santa Clara County, who had been there for 8 years, to be my chief of staff, Heather Wilson. She loves this area. She has a horse that she keeps in a stable in Woodside. She's just a great addition to the team, and she is super organized. And we have some wonderful people working with us part-time. So I don't know if any of you know Kathleen Moazed in La Honda. She used to be the Federal External Relations Director at UC Berkeley. Just amazing, wonderful person working on our team. Michael Neal's up in Pacifica working with us there, doing outreach and work there. And then we have, and then in San Carlos, we have Stephanie Anderson, who had been the head of the PTA for 3 years. And all those people are working part-time, but deep connections with the community to make sure that we are doing really good work in constituent services. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions to you all, for you all, but I just have to say that the one thing that I would share with you all is it has been a challenging first 27 days, but boy, are we blessed in this county, because we have some of the most amazing, resilient people who dive in and show the most compassion that it'll stay with me for a long time, the compassion that I have seen dealing with these natural hazard events. So thank you.
So
Thank you.
I'll have to start and say, this is just amazing already. I want to set the ground rules for Q&A. As Bill and Ashley have done, if you go down to your reactions and do a raise hand, then we'll know that you're in the queue to ask a question. And try and keep it to a question, and then we can get to more. And then Elsa, are you going to be? Yeah. Are you going to be? You'll be moderating?
If that's okay.
Yes, it is. I just wanted to set the ground rules so everybody knows.
Ray, I reiterate what Susie said. It feels as though you've been in for 4 years, and as though you've built up to that amount of time to realize what needs to happen. And sometime I'd love to hear about the phalanx you have also within your board to help make that happen. We've seen a lot of you out there, but wow, what leadership. I've got tears in my eyes.
Oh, that's kind. Thank you.
It's not kind. I'll hold up a mirror. So we'll go in this order. If anyone also would rather put a question in the chat, please do that. Bill Newell, you're up first for a minute.
Hi, Ray. I just want to, before I say anything else, just personally thank you also. I've been particularly impressed by how quickly you really threw your heart into the Half Moon Bay community, particularly the farm worker community. And you've really helped bring forward, I think, a lot of the issues that some of us have been trying to work on in the past. But I think now, and it's a sad thing to say, but it took sort of a tragedy to really make things more visible about what's happening with farm workers. But you really have been responsive in terms of the housing issue. Like you say, we're going to have permanent housing. I was so gratified to hear that. So great, just great work on that. What I want to ask you about, and what I've heard from some other people in the Half Moon Bay community, you're familiar with Alice, you're familiar with Joaquin Jimenez, I think the vice mayor of Half Moon Bay. And one of the big issues and concerns that you know about is that there's this long-term goal of getting housing to the farm workers, which will happen within the next year or two, I imagine. But in the meantime, there's a short-term goal need for farm workers right now in terms of housing. My understanding is some of them can't go back or don't want to go back to where they have been living, and they've been temporarily protected in motels or hotels or something, and that's great. But that can't be forever. And I know there's been a call out to the community to try to come forward with anybody that can provide housing, mutual housing for people in the short term for support. I'm just wondering what you can tell us. Excuse me. I'm just wondering what you can tell us, Ray, is what's going on with housing in the short term gap for fulfilling the need right now.
So we have all of the workers and family members affected in hotels, and we will keep them there. We will keep them in hotel rooms if we can't find other housing or get other housing built fast enough. But candidly, it's not a lot of fun to live in a hotel. And so we're really trying to get folks into a more stable environment for them and their families. And so we've done that reach out to people to see if people have ADUs or they have something where we can give these families to start to give them that sense of independence. Again, that sense of that they're not reliant on us. The psychology here is that people want to feel empowered. And when you're living in a hotel room that's provided to you by the county, you still feel very vulnerable. And so we're trying to transition away from that as fast as we can. We have, I will tell you that we are we have multiple properties right now where we're looking at bringing in FEMA style type trailers to house. We also have an intermediate plan, because as we start to do this program where we're going to be improving housing, I'm not going to leave people in housing that's terrible while we upgrade it. We're going to be moving people out of that in their interim. People are not going to be living at risk of their health and safety. And so we are creating that intermediate step as we move forward, the long-term step of building permanent affordable housing development. And so all of those things are happening. We'll be announcing all of those plans. They have to be approved by the board, of course. But I can tell you the board has already expressed support for that. The county executives team is working rapidly on this issue. And I'll give you an example of the kind of support we had. U.S. State Senator Padilla called me on my cell phone and gave me his and said, anything we can do. We will have the help from the state and federal level to get this done. So it's a tragedy, but we're going to plant seeds in it and do something really amazing in these people's memory.
Okay, my turn. Hi, Ray.
Hi.
It's Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Congratulations on your election.
Thank you.
Boy, you had no choice but to hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Day one. My questions are about the scope of your district. Now, your district, first of all, where do you live? And what part of the coast has always been in your district, or has any of it been? When did that all transpire? And what are the communities in the rest of your district?
So the county, the district, I live in Menlo Park. The entire district goes from Pacifica all the way to the Santa Cruz Mountains, Menlo Park, Atherton, Woodside, Portola Valley, Emerald Hills, all of San Carlos, and a good portion of Belmont. So it's by far, by land mass, the largest district, and by diversity of environment, definitely the most complex, and by far the most unincorporated. It has been that way. It was the new districts were formed back in the 2000, I want to say 14 time period, that this district was really drawn that way. And I don't know what it looked like before then, but I remember it was drawn this way then. It's been this way though for some time, because I can tell you Congresswoman Eshoo, who I adore, is now the Congresswoman again for this district, and she helped build the first Moon Ridge. Which is such a wonderful thing to draw upon. And she's so excited about being a part of the second one, which is permanent affordable housing for farm workers. And so she lives obviously in Menlo Park, Atherton border. So that was part of the district at its way back at the time period she served on the board of supervisors. Even though I live in Menlo Park, I am on the coast. I'm on the coast more than I'm in Menlo Park. And we are putting an office, and I'm happy to report one of my campaign promises was I was going to put an office on the coast. And just today, we have finalized down on 2 locations. There's the one that I want that I'm going to be visiting, hopefully as soon as tomorrow, to make sure that the ADA is going to work in it. And the great thing about the office on the coast is that we're going to do something very different that I think is very special. We are going to bring in Senator Becker's team, Mark Berman's team, and Congresswoman Eshoo's team. We're going to be a one-stop shop. And so that when people on the coast come to us and say, I got a problem, we're not saying to anyone, oh, you got to go over to that office and talk to those people. You're going to be able to figure it out where you came. And that's something I'm so excited about. And I think it's incredibly rare, because people are usually worried about the politics of it all. And we just all care about each other and just want to help people.
We all want that office wherever we are. That sounds so smart. Marshall Dinowitz.
Hi, congratulations. It's great to meet you finally, sort of in person. Your reputation preceded you before the election, and it was great to hear about you. As you may know, our club is the San Mateo County Democracy for America is quite an activist club, and we look forward to many discussions with you about issues of mutual interest. My question is, could you tell us about your climate mitigation or climate concerns for the Board of Supervisors and the county?
Yeah, so I can tell you that I serve on the Peninsula Clean Energy Board with Supervisor Pine now, and he's sort of passed me his portfolio. So I didn't know when I was coming to the board, but the day after I got on the board, he called me and said, well, you're going to be on Samtrans and the Transportation Authority and Caltrain. So I have and one shoreline. So I, along with PCE with him. So I have picked up I'd say the portfolio that really, and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. So it's a huge part of my portfolio. I can tell you, I studied at the College of Natural Resources at Berkeley at Cal. That's where my degree is from. My wife was an environmental sciences major. It's a core value of mine. I volunteered for Surfrider, helping test water that was going out into the ocean for years. Was on the advisory board of Green Foothills. I care deeply about this issue. I was mayor in Menlo Park when we were one of the first jurisdictions in the country to pass REACH codes. Just got off the phone actually an hour ago with Lenny Roberts. So this is a core value of mine. We're going to protect the environment. So I don't know what else to share on that.
Well, if you're talking to Lenny Roberts, you're obviously, you know about that.
Yeah. Lenny's a good friend. We've been friends for years. So
great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Marshall and Ray. Susie Ray.
So first of all, I wanted to ask a question. You mentioned that you posted the photos and you did it in a heat of emotion. Are you getting pushback from that? Or is it being accepted in the as we need to pay attention to this? That was
so people are definitely saying we need to pay attention to it. Immediately after, so when I made the decision to post photos, I was pretty upset. I went to the county manager, said, I'm going to do this. I want to make sure you're okay with it. He said, I'm okay with it. I went to the communications people and said, I'm going to do this. Look at it. And they said, okay, but you're going to create a firestorm. And I said, burn that bonfire big and bright so no one can back away from it. And that's pretty much where we are. You can't back away from them. Something happened right after we published it, though, where the landowner came out and said, okay, well, all those, 2 of those photos aren't where people live. And I said, well, I didn't say it was. What? And then they said the steel container unit in one of the pictures isn't a living unit. That's a storage unit. So that's just not right entirely, but they couldn't back away from the shooter unit because we knew that was the shooter's unit. And I about had a heart attack because I thought, oh God, I'm dead. I posted something that's not true. And, but what I can tell you is since that date, it's come to us now that it's confirmed people were living in that unit. And so what I'm tired of doing press about the pictures, candidly, because we have so much policy work to do. But I'm so glad we did it. And I don't want to tell everyone too much about what's happening, but as the weeks unfold, I think people are going to learn more about that site and what was going on there. And it's a horrible tragedy, but boy, that bonfire is burning big and bright, and it's going to end up being, I think, a good thing. So,
but part of the reason I was asking that was that, we've had Joaquin here to talk to our club. We've heard the stories. We know the groups are working on this and have been for years. Is it because this became a national that somehow now people are actually paying attention to it? I mean, I'm talking on a broader agenda.
So we had a moment in time where everybody was looking at us. So people were going to publish it and talk about it, certainly. But I also do think I'm in a sort of a unique position to do that, because if Joaquin and folks do that, they also have to figure about where are they going to get people housing. So the paradigm has existed for our social workers and those providing services that if you make too big of a deal out of it, as Joaquin, I've talked about with Joaquin, and he's talked about this week, if people make too big of a deal of it, you risk making people homeless, right? And so, because the county will go in and shut it down, but you weren't necessarily going to have hotel rooms for everybody. And so in this moment, we have this circumstance where we can show everybody these pictures that people might not take the risk showing them in the past. And we also have the resources available because of what happened to take care of the folks while we clean it up. And I also candidly, like you've heard me say, I'm so confident I have any resource I need to get this policy work done right now. 2 weeks before the shooting, if Joaquin and Belinda had come to me and said, Ray, come to this location, I'm not sure I would have. Everyone is all the best and well-intentioned, but I'm not sure if everyone would have been so focused on getting this done right now.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Again, mind-blowing. Diana Reddy.
Thank you. I've been a big supporter for a long time and took a bit of flack this last election. So I was thrilled that you got elected, and there was never a question for me because I knew that the coast was going to be safe and be in your hands. And that was my big issue, was that I was worried about the coast in a variety of ways. Never dreamed that you would be able to make the headway that you have with the farm worker housing. I'm so proud. And I need to report to my fellow DFAers that I attended the vigil last night in Half Moon Bay, and Ray's words were the most powerful. I didn't know that you were the son of a pastor, and they were so heartfelt.
Thank you.
And so moving. And it was really, really very helpful. And I thank you for it. And I thank you for being there. It's like you're there every day whenever I see an activity going on, you're there. And so thank you for being so sensitive and caring. And I hope you're okay. I hope you're taking care of yourself.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you mentioning my dad. Today actually would have been his birthday. So really kind of you. And I honestly, like, I appreciate the thanks, but everything that we're working on, people like Belinda and Joaquin and others have been working on a lot longer.
Yep.
Like there's just, so I appreciate it, but everything we're doing right now is really deep team. There is a deep, and at the county, I got to tell you, Mike Callaghy, our county executive, wow.
Yep.
Like people don't know it. Christina Corpus and her team, like we have all the right people in all the right places right now. It's just, we have all the right people in all the right places right now, which is it's just awesome.
To the idea that it takes a village,
Yeah.
and to repeat the comment that Marshall made, we are a very active club, and we are very effective with our resolutions and our letters and our LTEs. And so at the point that you need support from the governor or legislators to get state bills passed or whatever, please let us know, because we're ready.
Thank you.
We're planning trips to Sacramento, and we would be happy to add this to our list. So
thank you.
Please put us on your list of people who are standing behind you. And
I very much appreciate it.
Thank you again, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana.
And Gail. This is Gail Sverdanovic, who's unmuted.
Gail, you're muted.
There we go. Okay. Yes, I second everything Diana said. And in terms of wanting to support you with your projects, and we're willing to put our shoulder to the wheel in the ways that we do. And I have a question. In the midst of all of these serious and immediate issues, I still have a question about criminal justice. And that is, I mean, you may not even be aware, since you're just new, that the Judicial Council of the state of California gave the county $6 million to work on bail reform. And bail reform is a big concern of ours. And we're hoping that either in the past or in the future, that there will be a report to the supervisors. I think that would be highly appropriate. But so far as I know, I don't have any access to such a report. I don't think that it's happened. But if it has happened, I think our task force, our social justice task force, would like access to that report. And if it hasn't happened, maybe when things calm down a little bit, you can help make that happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And I'm going to write it down now and then email. I'm very candid. I'm going to have Dr. Escalara on my team follow up on that issue. So
yeah, it's not exactly a question, but I guess the question would be, can we count on you to do something? And I think we can. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll follow up and see if there's a report and what the status is.
Thanks.
And we heard from Josh Becker also that his staff is looking into that as well. And
yeah,
you know better than I am. Sure.
I know Josh. Josh is incredibly interested in working on these issues at a state level.
Thank heavens. Fran Pollard.
Hi, Fran.
Hi, Ray. Thank you for all you're doing on the coast with the farm workers, with the tragedies of the storm. I just appreciate so much what you're doing already. You know, I'm a big supporter. And I just wondered, I want to just say thank you so much you're way ahead of the board of anything they've ever done before, doing all that you're doing in the office, and getting even our state representatives and involved. That's tremendous. So since we on the mid coast, yeah, I'm a co-sider for everybody that doesn't remember me. I'm the one that lives across from Quarry Park, and which you've helped a lot with that too. I was wondering, the unincorporated area always feels neglected. So
Yeah.
we're hoping your office is going to be in the unincorporated area. Will it be?
So I have bad news for you. We couldn't find something in the unincorporated area, and we're waiting right now. I'm waiting for something to open up. I don't know if you know Keith Nurhan, but I kind of pushed on Keith to see if we can try to get something there at Princeton, because he has quite a bit there, but there's nothing right now. There's nothing. And and I can't wait. There's just too much work to be done on the coast. And so the location that I'm zeroing in on right now is on Main Street in Half Moon Bay. Because what I decided to do is, because I couldn't wait anymore, was we're going to take more than likely going to take the ag commissioner's office and move her upstairs, and I'm going to take the downstairs. And so people come, and so that they'll also have the ag commissioner upstairs where we are. But with the work that we're going to be doing with farm worker housing, that makes sense too for the time being. But I can promise you, Fran, I've already told the county that not to enter into a long-term lease there, because I want to get up into the mid-coast area, because we need to get up there too, because it's a long way for folks from Pacifica to come down, and I'm cognizant of that. But I really wanted to get this office opened in the first 90 days, and then with everything that happened recently, I just want to get it open.
Okay, that sounds good. You're forgiven.
I appreciate it. I promise I'll still come up. I will be, because of that, I'll be coming up for office hours in Pacifica and in the mid-coast too. So
yeah. Okay, well, that's more important that you're doing it as quickly as possible. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything.
Well, thank you.
And now we have Ashley Evans again.
Hi, Ray. Our club has been very actively supporting Fixin San Mateo County, which is working on the sheriff department, the oversight civilian board. And I know the Board of Supervisors is working on that now, and we're very pleased that Christina Corpus is open to it. So we're not going to have pushback there. But I'm hoping you'll be an active voice for that too.
Yeah, I met with
San Mateo County is much in need of that.
Yeah, I met, so I saw Nancy on earlier, and I think she's still here. Yeah. And I met with Nancy and Jim.
I'm still here.
Yeah, and I met with Nancy and Jim shortly after taking office, and then have met with Christina. It's right now with Supervisor Pine and Supervisor Slocum, who have it in there before it comes back to us. Right. And so, but yeah, I have been supportive. I am supportive of it. I want to see what they bring, and then I want to work with Sheriff Corpus and figure out how that all best gets done. But the answer is yes.
Thank you.
And I'll just add that Ray was the first of the candidates who endorsed Fixin San Mateo County. And that's out of 4 candidates. And surprise, once Ray endorsed, it was amazing how quickly the dominoes started lining up.
Yeah, I'm speaking at Fixin next week. I forgot that. Thank you. Thanks, Nancy. I forgot that.
And RJ Jennings will be introducing you next week. Karen Mackey is coming next week as well, with a spotlight on the Democratic Party. So that'll be fun.
It's a great crew all together. Susie Ray.
So I kind of want to circle back for a minute, because one of the things that you talked about that to me is so surprising and fabulous is you were talking about the partnerships with all these other counties, with other groups. everyone coming together to work on common problems, such as farm worker housing and farm worker conditions. How did that happen? Is it just the horrid circumstances of the shooting that allowed this to happen? Who started that?
I don't think anyone can. So I don't think any one elected official should take credit for that. I think that belongs with our farm worker advocates. So, and I would tell you that, you know, Rita down at Fuente is great and Joaquin's great. And if last year when I was running for this office, Belinda Arriaga had come to me and told me she wanted it, I would have dropped out. Belinda is
fabulous.
Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, she's just yeah. Belinda's amazing. Her and her husband and her family, they're just so inspiring. So,
but in this condition right now, all these groups are finally coming together. And is it having the notoriety of the media exposure that's bringing people together? Because this is something I think has been desired for years, but today it's actually finally happening. And I guess, was it simply just what was going on with the shooting that allowed all the parties to say, yes, let's work together, join hands?
I think one thing is we all do generally really like each other. Like all the electeds like I'm not in competition with any of these people, right? Like all of these electeds like each other. And so one of the things that happens with electeds is sometimes there's competition and there's turf and there's all these things. And so if one person gets out in front of another, people get worried about that. We have none of that right now. Like I don't plan on running for anything else for 12 years. I'm going to be I love being in this role, and and Josh and Mark and know me well enough to know that I am not in competition for anything. And I think that when and Anna's been in Congress so long that, you know, she's not running. That's where she is, and everyone's comfortable that she's there as long as she wants to be. And there's just no competition. And so the idea that in this moment we can do something remarkable that hasn't been done for far too long, if that doesn't get you up in the morning and inspire you, what will?
Yeah, I'm just saying congrats, because it's happening, and it's like, so many people have said, yes, let's do it. And today it's actually starting to gel. So really terrific.
What I will tell you though, is the struggle is never over. So when Anna built the first Moonridge with Joe, I'm sure at that time people thought we have it figured out. And then over time it slipped. And so it never ends. The struggle to help those who are vulnerable never will end, because they are vulnerable because the systems that is set up. The real issue that we have to come to grips with around this issue is that the cost of food and the ability to bring that food to market requires the fact that people be vulnerable. And we either are going to step up from a policy standpoint and say, no, the cost of food requires that we're going to subsidize the living conditions of those people so they don't suffer, so we all have cheap food. And that's really what we have to change the paradigm around from a policy level in California. We're going to say, look, if we're going to go ahead and empower farms to put food on the plate at a certain price point, we aren't going to have a vulnerable population. We aren't going to put a vulnerable population at risk to do it, period.
That is a heavy lift, I've got to say.
It's, you know, it's really not that. I mean, we say it's a heavy lift, but I don't actually, maybe I'm just Pollyanna-ish, but I think it's just you decide that you're not going to accept it anymore and you make it and you change it.
Boy, you have the right visionary stance on all of that. You definitely don't if you don't have that vision too. I just want to say, Ray, that you're also speaking tomorrow night with a panel in Half Moon Bay, the Half Moon Bay Brewery, not a little north of it, Princeton by the Sea.
Yeah, super kind. Lenny Mendonca has invited us to come in to talk beers and brews, to talk about how we build resilience on the coast.
Brews and Views. And Josh is part of that as well. There's an amazing lineup. I just put a link in the chat about it. And the Brews and Views promotion on their website about it has one person's picture gigantically. And you're looking at him right now. So if you'd like a little more on that, plus a wonderful setting and place to eat, please do go see Ray there.
Thanks. Yeah, Lenny's great. Lenny's been wonderful, and we're going to have a great, robust discussion about how we make the coast resilient going forward. And he has a great panel. So I think Belinda's on there too. Belinda and Josh both.
He is, and you can be sure that he'll help make all that happen.
Yeah,
all of you together is just mind blowing. Diana, ready?
Yes, sorry, I neglected to mention you have mentioned Anna Eshu a couple of times, and I just wanted to report that at the meeting I just left, it was reported that Anna Eshu has invited, is it Juanita maybe? I thought I was told Joaquin, and then that person who reported it left the meeting before I could verify, has been invited to the President's State of the Union address. And I'm really excited about it. I wanted to be clear that it better come with an airplane ticket. I don't know if it does, so I'm putting my DCC and DFA members on notice that if it didn't, that we need to help with that. So maybe you know about that.
I don't know about the airplane tickets, but boy, that would sure be nice. And yeah, they both were invited, and it's amazing.
Well, they need to be there. They need to be acknowledged for what's happening and for the work that they do. And I was thrilled to hear that they were invited, but in order to make that happen, they need to have the resources to get there. So
we will make sure there's a good link on that one. And another of our co-siders, April Vargas. I'm sure you two know each other too.
Oh, many years.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, April.
Thank you, of course, for everything. I just had a couple of things I wanted to say to the group. First of all, who we elect matters. And I'm just so proud that all the people that we've seen through all these difficult times and on television are all people that we've known around here, who we have trusted, who we have worked with, and who we have supported. And that's, to me, that's what representation is all about, is working with people that you know, people that you can get to know, and people whose values are our values and really stick to what they say they're going to do and are open to working together. It's just been so just very affirming to me for all the time we've spent on phone banks, walking precincts, calling people. It matters. It matters. It's the only thing that matters. The other thing too, Ray, you talked about, and I just wanted to underscore the fact that Susie was asking, you know, how could this be happening now? And I know you know this, Ray, but just the incredible work that's gone on in the community on behalf of farm workers for years when nobody was paying attention. People who wouldn't take no for an answer, who just kept going and kept going. And through the Democratic Party, organized the Farm Worker Affairs Committee, Victoria Sanchez de Alba, who's become a friend of mine and who has just worked tirelessly, Belinda, Joaquin, so many more people, because they were there to do this work when a lot of times, you know, maybe the county kind of knew about it, but not really paying attention until they went time after time and asked the previous supervisor, come here, look at this, we need this, you need to do this, how can we help you get it done? And it's just the incredible, you talk about resilience, but the persistence, the focus, and then the incredible abilities and generosity of these people just can't be overstated. So I have to say that a lot of, and I know, Ray, I know you know this, a lot of why this is happening is because the people were there, the work was already being done, and there was somebody there that you could go to and say, help me understand, how can we do this better? So again, the strength of the communities, and particularly our community-based organizations, cannot be overstated. That's how we get things done, is through every sector. And then one thing I wanted to ask you about, Ray, if you've had a chance to think about this, is number one, the effect that this is having on younger people, and any ideas that you have to work with younger people, not only through crisis.
Well, maybe I should try to call you.
Who said that? Sorry, April, you want to come back?
Sorry, I'll work.
I know, but could you tell that I tried to call you?
Who's talking?
I'm trying to find out.
It might be Nancy Crampton.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
please
I tried
mute
to call
yourself,
you because
whoever
Roger
is
says I should
talking
be
in the
able
background.
to, but it never seems to work.
But whoever that is, could you please put the message in
anyway
in the chat, and you can send it directly to April. Thanks. I just can't tell who that was. April, did you finish?
Huh.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering, Ray, if you had any ideas.
How do you hear it when he calls you?
Who is
got it? I got it. It was Heidi. Got it. Sorry about that. Took me a while to find it.
Happens to all of us.
Go ahead. Sorry, April.
No, that was my question, Ray, about how this is affecting the kids and the younger people.
Are you talking about so you're talking about youth who are watching the public policy process take place, or the kids from the incident?
Just kind of in general, effects on kids, how something positive can come out of something that's been so terrible in terms of youth too. Yeah,
I mean, so I think what's really interesting right now is that, I spoke to a group of Stanford students recently in the middle of all this, and a lot of them didn't even realize that local government could have an impact like this. When you're young, you think a lot about you want to go work with a congressperson or work in a state capital, and they don't really realize at the local level how you can impact change. And so watching all of this take place locally to those young minds who are here is really making them think about, what can be done locally. And I think when people see you sort of challenge the way that things are, I think youth are always attracted to that. So we're actually putting together we're going to be putting together a pretty robust big internship program this summer, where we try to grab some of those college kids and put them to work.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're 100% right about all the work that has been done in this area. And I will tell you, there have been times in this process, there are times, I talk to Belinda and Joaquin almost every day, to be able to reach out to them. And I talk to Rita often, to be able to reach out to our stakeholders and have them inform, and also to help verify information has been incredibly, incredibly helpful.
Wow. Bill Newell.
Thanks. Real quickly, Ray, I'll try to be short. You probably are aware of this, but April's point about youth made me remember that we have a very active juvenile, I don't quite know the exact title, but Behavioral Health Juvenile Justice Committee that right now is looking at the jail situation with juveniles. And there's a move on in the county to try and move away from jail incarcerating our juveniles, and at the same time trying to address the needs of youth, particularly around mental health and around the other sorts of needs that they're having as youth, related to poverty, related to just struggling to make it here in our county due to the economics, but also to have opportunities to do things for themselves and further their own lives. And I'm just wondering, I'm sure you're somewhat aware of that. I'm just wondering what your extent of the awareness of the issue is and your thoughts on how you want to address it.
So I'm always candid. I haven't had a moment to think about any of those issues since I joined the board. There just really hasn't been a moment yet. The good thing I can tell you is Dr. Escalera, who's joined my team, was at Santa Clara University working on issues like this prior to being at the Migrant Services, working for Migrant Services for Santa Clara County. And so I'm pretty confident I have a staff member who's going to be able to help me through it, and we will be joining that work. But I got to be honest, I just hadn't had a moment to look at that part of the portfolio yet.
Well, I appreciate your candidness and your honesty, and I just I want you to be aware that that's also a big issue for many of us.
Absolutely.
Ray, we can't thank you enough. I actually, normally we would have been pummeling you with questions about, well, here are all our issues, and sometimes from all of our task forces too. You have given us so much fodder. And we are very, very grateful. We hope to have you say yes every time we invite you. We look forward to a long, wonderful relationship. And I really want to emphasize what Diana spoke so eloquently a lot about, which is we are activists. We would love to do whatever you need to have done. And there are times we'll question it too, but boy, do we have a fabulous platform given what you have built. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
You're most welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting and see what else we do.
Well, I apologize, but I need to go be a dad.
There you go.
But thank you all for all that you do and push me. So you have a great night.
You too, and as it's been said before, make sure you take care of yourself and your family.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for being a great dad, Ray.
Yeah. Good.
That's kind. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good night.
Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. Wow. Do we have a fabulous new supervisor?
Great introduction. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and I hope everybody is as cured up by that as I am, and how much he's already done. And we're talking in just a month. So this is, mind-boggling to me that he's been so involved in so much. And thank goodness he's there to be involved. Flavia, got a comment, question?
Yeah, I just thought that his point about how he impressed on the college kids, what a dramatic role local government can play in people's lives is really important. I really am glad that he made that point, because a lot of people take local government for granted.
Yeah, well, and I'll chime in on that. I happened to be invited to be a speaker at Pescadero High School to talk about voting. And this was in my other hat where I'm League of Women Voters, but I was there to talk to a group of high school seniors. And I was really, first of all, I was impressed that these kids made it through the 45 minutes we talked. Were engaged and responding to questions. But more, it was talking to them about they're in Pescadero, so they don't have the local government like city councils and things, but they have their supervisor, and they have the school board, and how important those local races are to their lives. Where Board of Supervisors is less important because I live in a city. It's much more important when you're living coastside in an unincorporated area. And it was, talking to these kids about getting involved. How do you become an involved voter? And I was really encouraging them to work on campaigns, work on getting out the vote. And there was interest there. So I think this generation of kids is so involved, and I'm really impressed. And anything more that we can do to keep these kids engaged is something we want to do. Diana.
Thank you for reporting on that. I just wanted to mention that when the Central Committee begins its voter registration campaign, perhaps we could loop back to them and do a voter registration training, because one of the things that we learned many years ago was that you didn't have to be a citizen or of voting age in order to help with voter registration. So we were using many people. One of them actually was Jackie Spears' then high school daughter. she was working on voter registration, and we had residents who were not citizens but spoke Spanish, and they were able to talk to people and get them registered to vote. So it would be wonderful. They would actually be setting a wonderful example in Pescadero for voter registration, just to be tabling and helping, and it would be a fun thing to do. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Oh, all right. Well, we're going to move on to our next bit of business, which is we have a resolution from the Social Justice Task Force. This is a resolution to reverse the CPUC NEM 3.0 decision. And this is in response to the meeting we had last month with Dave Rosenfeld, who talked about, this was the recent CPUC decision on solar. And this is something that will impact many of us. Let's see, can I share? Could you enable screen sharing? And I've got it up so I can.
As co-host, are you not able to share?
No, it says you've disabled.
Oh.
Everybody should have received, every member should have actually received it also in the email.
I think there's a security button at the bottom of the Zoom window, Diana.
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. Now, Susie, are you able to?
Now I can. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
And there we go. And I think everybody can see that now.
Yes.
Good. So here is our resolution, and we'll take a second to let everybody take another review through it. And then we'll open up for questions and discussion. And Ashley, I'll ask you to help me make sure we stay on the rules on how to do this.
Right. So I'll get the ball rolling I make a motion that San Mateo County Democracy for America endorses this resolution. So then when everybody is finished reading it, we can go right to discussion.
I'll second that motion.
Is there a second? Oh, thank you, Marcia.
Okay. Are we ready to open discussion? Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I mean, somebody ought to.
Comments?
I'll make a comment. The Public Utilities Commission made a terrible decision, which is going to dampen people's desire to put on solar. And that goes in the opposite direction. And this resolution is an attempt to politically change that. And so I support this motion to approve this resolution.
Ashley?
All right. Now, I think this was in December that the CPUC voted on this decision. Yeah. And some people think, oh, okay, well, it's a done deal. And so maybe this is not so urgent anymore. But this is actually critical. California set a goal of getting rid of fossil fuels in 15 years. And having solar rooftop installations is an important part of reaching that goal. One good thing is that it can, because it's done locally, and we do not have to, I mean, at the same time, we're going to have big solar farms and we're going to have big wind farms, but they require expensive transportation to get that energy to the people. And with this, and especially when we add our own battery storage, this will be local. And so this is absolutely required. And make no mistake about it, the CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, is, I mean, they regulate the utilities, but they are very much in their pocket. And the utilities are trying to destroy the solar roof energy for obvious reasons. And like for the PG&E, it's not just the utility, but also the union that represents PG&E workers are very much against solar energy too. So there was all kinds of lobbying that was done when the CPUC was working on this. And it obviously was not sufficient, but the battle has to go on. And just, I think Dave Rosenfeld was here talking to us from the Solar Rights Alliance. And then just about 3 weeks after that, they, along with a couple of other environmental nonprofits, sent an appeal to the CPUC trying to reverse this. And if that fails, if their appeal doesn't work, they will take it to the courts. So this fight goes on, and it's really important. That's all I have to say.
All right, Diana, you're up.
Thank you so much. And just to pile on to the comment that Ashley made, the California has a lofty goal of really addressing fossil fuel and climate change. And this completely reverses that lofty goal. And Dave, one of the reasons why Dave Rosenfeld he was a powerful speaker. He got us all excited, and we immediately went to work to draft this resolution, and then sent it to him to give us some suggestions, which were, and it's a really, in my modest opinion, is a very powerful resolution. And I wanted to report that we will be, it will be going on the Central Committee agenda for the February meeting. And part of our lofty goal is to take it on to the California Democratic Party Resolution Committee to seek their endorsement of this resolution as well. So it's really critical that we keep the feet to the fire on this issue, and make sure that the CPUC is reminded constantly that what they're doing is not a popular or good idea. Thank you, Susie.
Thanks. And keep in mind that, yes, the public comments are what pushed this decision back about 6 months. So public comment does make a difference. All right, Elsa.
Thanks. I think in the years I've been with DFA and the many resolutions that we have endorsed, approved, going through, this is the easiest one to say, piece of cake, of course. And I think we've all been absolutely shocked at what? This is the CPUC? What are they thinking or not thinking? And we just are blown away by how anti all of what we think of California as being this is. So this should be a unanimous vote easily, in my humble opinion. Thanks.
All right, and Carrie?
Yeah, just in support of it also, but also just to add the facts that you all can have in your head when you discuss these kinds of issues. The decentralized generation is way more efficient than the centralized generation. So when you produce from your roof so many megawatts or kilowatts of power and use them in your home, that's pretty much a 1-for-1 generation to use. When you use one off the line, depending upon how far away that generation source is, the source, your own sourced power can be, well, that distant power can be 50% less efficient. They got to produce twice as much electricity to power your house as you need to make to power your house. So when we're looking to meet California's goals, the decentralized rooftop generation is not only taking out a kilowatt of generation that the utility needs to produce, it's taking out 2 for every 1 in lots of cases. Now, granted, if your generation source is, you know, at Shasta Dam, for example, and you live in Shasta, it's probably a much less radical difference. But for us, you on the peninsula and us here, our generation sources are quite far away. So when I produce my rooftop power, I get a 1-for-1 bang for the buck on that power. And when I make more than I need, which we used to do at Jasper Ridge where I work, when we put in our system, that actually reduced the cost of the power for all of our neighbors when we net produced, because that power only had to transmit across the property line to the next house instead of come from God knows how many miles away. End of rant.
Thank you, Carrie. That is an incredibly important point. All right, Gail, you're up next.
Yeah, and I would add on to that, when you have community generated solar, especially if you have like a group solar thing, it's much more resilient in the case of power outages. In one case, notable case, in Northern California, everybody who lost their power in those fires was turning up at the Indian reservation because the reservation had their own power source. They had their own community solar. And I think that should be the goal, but PG&E wouldn't like that because then they wouldn't make so much money. And the other point is, if you think electricity is expensive, look what gas is costing. You know, you'd be way better off to go electric, yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right, Jim?
Hi, and I just want to make one further comment about this to reinforce the importance that the solar rooftop should also include batteries so that the power is storable and usable at the appropriate time, i.e. nighttime when solar isn't actually being generated. And again, this in parallel gets down, and I'll start working again on the issue I addressed before and got no response from Josh Becker's office about solar for condominium and apartment projects. Interesting, walking through Costco, most of you know, you walk by the solar power place and they immediately want to come over and do a good sales job on you. And I just mentioned the word condo and they immediately turn away. They say, I understand your problem. And it's what a horrible waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. I live in a condo and yeah, they don't want to talk to me either. even though I have my own roof. And so, all right.
I'd like to call the motion.
I was just going to say, thank you. And Ashley, what's our procedure?
To vote.
The motion has been made, so I'm just going to repeat it and then we can take the vote. And of course you'll explain that only paid up members can vote, right?
Correct.
The motion has been made that San Mateo County Democracy for America endorse this resolution that we have before us. Back to you, Susie.
Can we vote now?
Oh. Am I ready to say all those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, we will vote. I can't figure out how to, I'm going to stop sharing. All those in favor, please use your reactions and raise your hand. And these are members, SMC, DFA members. Okay, and I got a couple. Okay, I got. All right, so I got. Let me hang on while I check the last ones. Okay. All right. Well, I think we've got.
You could ask for the no's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All those, and if you'll lower your hand, all those opposing. Elsa, lower your hand. There we go. All those opposing. Okay. Then I think we say we have it. Thank you all, and marvelous. We'll be glad to see.
Elsa was right. It was unanimous. One last note.
You trust this group.
You know, if any of you missed Dave Rosenfeld's wonderful talk at our meeting last in January. Are we still in January? No, we're not. But he will be speaking at the Central Committee meeting, which is the third Thursday. I believe it's the 16th of February. He'll be speaking, and we won't know till tomorrow, but it looks like it will be an in-person Central Committee. And if it is, he's going to be the speaker, Dave Rosenfeld, whether it's in person or not, but he happens to be in the area. And if it's in person, he will be live at that meeting, the Central Committee meeting. So, and we will be presenting the resolution there. And we'll be able to say that San Mateo County Democracy for America strongly supports this resolution.
And has already passed it.
Yes.
Flavia, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, is there a chance, because of everything that Ray Mueller was talking about with the storms and the tragedy and everything, that he's going to get preempted?
What do you mean?
Like, oh, sorry, because of these other things that have come up and are more important, we'll have you another month.
No. So he, so preempted, he lives in Oregon.
Right.
And so I don't know, there wouldn't be anything like that that would. So Dave has already been with us, right? Yeah. And Noelia has already been to the DCC, and Ray is scheduled the following month. But yeah, this month we scheduled Dave because it will be the same night that we're asking for support of this resolution as a DCC resolution.
Okay.
So yeah, we're feeling pretty good about it.
All right. Well, we're going to head on now to task force reports. And Flavia, we'll go ahead and do you want to start us off with climate change?
Okay. So I guess it was last week, we met on, was it the week before? Anyway, we met earlier in January, and it was a really good discussion, I thought. One of the things that was driving discussion was the article that Marshall passed around on SMC DFA Talk, and I would recommend, if you are a member of SMC DFA, but you're not on Talk yet, that you should join, because I think there will be some interesting discussions, and you never know what a subject that somebody else brings up will trigger in your own life. And so that's been my experience this month with Marshall. Started off with the article about, why are they afraid of democracy? And that led to something else and something else. And also Greg brought up the point that in December, after the COP27 in Egypt, he wrote an article that really was a very good critique on the state of climate change and putting everything in perspective, and reminded us of a couple of good points that Bill Gates had made through his book. And I think we're just like still working on, what we want to work on. And the rest of the group was very understanding of my workload and how, they're willing to take the ball on issues that they want to do. They still want to work on getting solar permits for condos that aren't low income a little bit easier, more fast tracked. And there's a host of other things that they want to work on. So I'm just going to say that in April, there is a National Food Waste Prevention Week. And what Ray was saying about in order to have cheap food, which we take for granted and we waste a lot of, it requires that some people live in destitute poverty. And that's one of the things that's really wrong with the food system. So it's a social justice issue as well as a climate justice issue that we have to fix our food system. So if you're interested in National Food Waste Prevention Week, and I could ask SMC DFA to sign on as making a proclamation, and I'll send you the copy of the proclamation that the national campaign is using. So I'll put that information into the chat. So I will put our notes on the climate change task force on the website, because we have our own webpage, because since I'm the chair and I also support the website, I am able to do that, but I'll also offer that accommodation to the social justice group as well. Okay.
Thank you. Elsa, I see your hand up.
Yes, thanks. Just to comment on Flavia's excellent comment. This country spends, on average, the average household spends 6% of its income on food. There is no other country in the world where is that low a percentage of its food. That's why I asked Ray, really, can we do that? Because we definitely could pay more for food. Now, at the same time, it would help if we, not just help, but we really need to flatten out the inequities, no question. But we pay less for food than anyone else on the planet. Just had to add that. Thanks.
Okay. Nancy, Jim?
Yes, Flavia, can we share Greg's article that he sent to us all? That was so good and so concise.
I don't see why not. I don't think Greg would have a problem with it. I actually used parts of it to write to Jeff Merkley, our US Senator, to make a couple of points. For instance, he made a point about if we're in such a dire situation with this existential threat of climate change, why aren't we giving it as much money as we give to our military budget every year? I mean, the military protects us from threats. Why aren't we throwing money to protect us from this threat?
Yes. I'm not even talking about the same amount. I'm talking about 1/10.
Right. But your article was so good, and it hit so many good spots that I just think everybody should be able to see it.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
It's I think it's going to be one chapter in your upcoming memoirs, Gregory.
Yes.
So you're willing to give that away? Thank you.
It's not giving away. It can do both.
Yeah, I know, but it's really wonderful.
All right.
I may want to make one further comment. Interesting feature about Greg's article is it's labeled global warming. And we may want to consider at some point changing our task force name to global warming. As I commented to Greg, climate change terminology softened the impact of the problem we're dealing with, I think, significantly.
Climate crisis.
The reason I put it back to global warming is because that's the threat.
Yes, exactly.
It's not just a change.
Yeah.
The warming goes in one direction.
Yes. Bush made it sound like it was a neutral issue.
Yeah.
Well, and that climate change is being used in the media in often a negative connotation. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that simply say, no, it doesn't exist, etc. So anyway, Diana?
Thank you, Jim, for that comment, and to Greg for writing that piece. To that point, just a little bit of trivia. When people have outdoor koi ponds, they stop feeding their fish when the temperature falls below 50 degrees. And for the first time ever, the temperature in our pond has not fallen below 50 degrees. And I'm still feeding the fish. And it usually is in November. By the second week of November, the temperature has fallen below 50 degrees. Even this week, where it's been so cold, it still warms up, and the water never gets cold enough. And so I'm a little bit, so I completely support changing the way we talk about this to global warming. I think that's really what we're talking about. Yeah, I think we need to be graphic about it.
All right, thank you, and good point. Lots of good points. All right, next up is Marshall with elections.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the Elections Task Force is meeting next Monday, February the 6th at 7 o'clock by Zoom. The members of the committee have already received the Zoom contact, but if there are others that want to be members of the Election Task Force, please let me know either in this chat or send me an email so that we can let you know what's happening and when and the Zoom contact. And we of course welcome and encourage other members, and I'm sure the Climate Task Force also would welcome members. And in our first meeting, we're going to discuss the best meeting time. This is the reason we're meeting on the first Monday of the month, is because that's what we decided in a previous year's task force, but that may not work for everybody now. So we're going to decide on a new date for our meeting. And we're going to discuss upcoming elections and how we want to focus on them, which ones. And importantly, and Bill actually sent an email about this, and we've gotten lots of emails, those of us that get emails from all over the place, about the upcoming election in Wisconsin and in Virginia. We'll be discussing both of those. and then we'll be prioritizing our focus for the upcoming year. So that's what we'll be doing on Monday, and please join us if this is a task force that appeals to you. Thanks.
Marshall?
Yeah.
When is the State of the Union?
Oh, is it next Tuesday? I mean, no, it's Tuesday, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I'm a little bit confused, but
no, it's February 7th at 6 p.m. our time, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Yeah.
So it doesn't coincide with our meeting of the elections.
Well, not unless there's some sort of quantum going on, because ours is Monday.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now we'll do a change of subject and head over to healthcare with Elsa.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm not on video, but it's better for all of you. So there's an important local, state, as well as national move going on. So I'll start with California. One more time, CalCare is about to be introduced. It may not be until February, but it'll be late January we're in February. It's definitely a February bill. And CalCare is our state version of Medicare for All, the enhanced version of the current Medicare, to add vision, hearing, and what am I missing? Vision, hearing,
dental.
Dental, thank you. I was trying to touch the various parts of my face. What am I missing? And luckily, California's also adds taking care of us as we age and we go into not quite assisted living, although it could be that far, but whether it's skilled nursing or any of those other elements along the way, when we need more help just to do the 6 basic things. Thank you, California. Last time we had Ash Kalra, who introduced it into the Assembly. It's very likely going to start in the Assembly again. And that process is, it has to become a bill first in later February, by February 17th, then get voted through its committees, which are health, and none of our people are on health, and the Appropriations Committee, and then to go to the floor. It has to go to the floor by June. And if it can get through the floor, then it gets tossed over to the Senate. There is a lot behind the scenes that's going on about that right now. And I'm supposedly not at liberty to say more about it, but we will hear possibly some different things from what we'd heard before. On the national, and we also met last Friday with Mark Berman. Actually, I talked with him the night before, and then we met with his legislative chief on it, who last year said, on the morning, she called me to say, Mark's going, on the morning of the last day they could vote, and it was the last bill they were going to vote on, Mark is going to vote for it. And then at the last second, even once it was on the floor, you may remember this, the Ash Kalra pulled it because he knew he was still 10 votes short, and he didn't want to have had it voted against, because that can create a lot of bad headlines later, and angst for some people, but it became very controversial. Well, don't forget that name, Ash Kalra. He put so much into it that there's a lot of the legislators really are pointing to one person who should lead that parade again. So we will, I hope, be able to, well, we'll definitely uncover it by the next meeting. The national thing that's happening is, we know there's this gradual further and further takeover by private health insurance of the payment system for Medicare and for healthcare in general in the country. And I will just point to 3 programs that are out there right now. One is called Medicare. You've heard of it. Medicare, we always hear that it takes 3% of the cost of the general fund, the Medicare fund, to pay for the administering of that. It's actually 1%, not 3%. But HHS is pretty sure nobody will believe only 1%. So they say 3%, but it's been proven that it's actually closer to 1%. amazing to me. However, they then later invented, not HHS, but other people invented Medicare Advantage. And I'm not sure any of you are on this, but just so you know, Medicare Advantage is managed by the private health insurance companies. By law, they are allowed to take 15%, not 1 to 3%, off the top of the funding they get per person from the Medicare trust fund. And that goes to their profitability. That leaves only 85% left for thee and me to get clinical care. That is a big deal. Anna Eshoo is up in arms about that right now, along with a number of her other Congress people, and they're trying to figure out how to either lower that percentage or take the private healthcare companies out of that arena. Then the newest thing that's been introduced was under His Lowness's former occupant of the White House term, when Jared Kushner's former roommate said, you know, I've got this great idea. There's so much money in government healthcare payments, half of the country's annual payments. We on Wall Street need to get into this act too. And we can take hedge funds and equity companies and create groups that will manage the process for them. And they passed a law where by law, 40% can be taken off the top for these companies to be in charge of, quote unquote, managing it. And then there is 60% left for clinical care. How does this get implemented? And it's already been being implemented. So you should ask your doc, has your group gone this way? They sell it into the management of groups of doctors. The doctors themselves never know what's going on with this or can easily not unless they push back and question it. Why is there anything to question? They'll have less paperwork to do. That's one of the selling points. And there too often are kickbacks where out of that 40%, the Wall Street firm will give a certain percentage to the management of that group. And of course, any way they can improve their bottom line, they're delighted with. So they've got all the right incentives, the Wall Street firms, to figure out how to sell this in beautifully. And it's been creeping into all the Medicare physician groups. The thing that there are a lot of stories coming out about that right now, but that's one big thing we're working on. And as soon as we have letters for you to write and calls for you to make, boy, will we come up with a lot of that. This is the privatization, not so little by little, with increasing rate of Medicare for all. And that's why when you hear, oh, Medicare is about to go bankrupt, it's because we've allowed all these private health insurance companies to come in and to take their big chunks first before they get to managing any of the clinical care. So, and that program, is called ACO REACH. Most people have no clue. ACO REACH, what is that? What does it stand for? Which I'm not going to take you through. But we need to make that awareness greater and greater of that term so that when we start doing something about it, it's in the water. Thank you very much.
All right. I see, Marshall, you've got your hand up. Yeah.
You know, Medicare Advantage makes it sound like it's so great because it covers dental and eye. But they must, I don't know for sure, but I assume they use the same pay schedule for the rest of it as Medicare does, but I may be wrong. But no. Doesn't Medicare Advantage have a cap, a lifetime cap?
There's somewhere a comparison of Medicare Advantage, and I should send it to Susie to send out to everybody, of Medicare Advantage versus basic Medicare. And it's shocking what they actually don't cover. And it is that cap, you're right, Marshall, that people can.
That's the main thing that people have to think about. You know, you want your Medicare coverage suddenly to stop. That's absurd, but that's the way they've set it up to siphon off all the money.
And they also require a lot of prior permissions before you can have anything done. It's It's just going back to private insurance with all the horrible things we got away from. So let's not call it Medicare Advantage. It is Medicare Disadvantage.
Disadvantage, yes.
Yeah, it's just the way they call a certain gas we use a lot in our houses natural gas. Boy,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's methane. It's methane.
Oh, it's a good thing. It's natural. Thank you, Ashley. So true.
All right. And Gail, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say that there are statistics that show that people on Medicare Advantage who get seriously ill very quickly switch back, if they can, to original Medicare because they really can't get the kind of care that they need. And there's also the issue of, you mentioned about nursing homes, the quality of care. I can assure you, I've, had an accident 10 or so years ago, and then I recently did a short stint in a nursing home, and the quality of care has gone way, 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 way down. So that it's actually really a very dangerous place to be. There's basically no rehab going on, and conditions are really bad. There may be some good ones. I don't know. I was in one that's reported to be middle of the road as far as quality, and it was dreadful. And I had survivor guilt leaving all those people behind.
Ooh. So Susie, if I send you something, is that something that can go out like with the next newsletter or something? Or could we link to something?
Yeah, maybe if there's a link to something, that would probably be the best, because then you could have more information. Maybe talk to Flavia about posting something, and then the newsletter can have an intro paragraph with the link to the website. And that would
that's a great idea.
That would also bring people to the website. So
great.
That'd be good. I'm just going to make. I just want to make one comment.
Medicare Disadvantage does not partner with the major cancer centers either.
Oh, jolly.
Yeah. Or Medicare.
I'm just going to add a comment to Gail's about the nursing home and things like that. One of their biggest problems these days is they can't pay people enough to work there. And so they're in desperate need for workers. And there's a huge turnover because it tends to be a low-paying job and not the easiest or most pleasant.
Well, exactly. Yeah, they had a tremendous staffing problem. I'm aware of that. Nonetheless, it must make money because people are, in business running these places. Mm-hmm.
Well, the top makes, like any corporate, the top makes money and the bottom is starving, and that's the workforce. So, yeah. Okay. Gail, let's go ahead and move on to social justice.
Okay. Well, besides our being very happy about the progress of the solar petition, we hope in the near future, not too far away, to have some report from our members who are working on the providing mental health responses rather than armed police responses in some form. And we also have a member working on juvenile justice issues. And as I mentioned to our new supervisor, I'm hoping that we will get a report about the progress of bail reform. Other than that, I would point out that you might want to thank Josh Becker, who, among other things that he's done that are very good, has authored legislation to provide free lunches in daycare situations, because most daycares, of which there are way too few, run on a very slim budget, don't pay their workers very much either, and they can really, really use the help in providing food to the children that are there. And a sidebar, I don't know if you knew, but I believe this to be true. California schools now provide free lunches to everybody who wants one, with the goal of reducing the embarrassment and the social stigma for kids who get free lunches. I don't know how that's working out in real time, but it's new and it's a terrific idea. And the report,
and Diane,
except for Diana. Yeah, Diana may have more.
Diana.
Well, just to explain that the kids who are participating in the school lunch program are given a card. All kids are given a card, and parents either fill the card or they don't. If you're in the program, then your parents are not able to fill the card, but the cards are all identical. So that's how that's done. Anyway,
I don't understand it.
Every child who gets their lunch, whether they're in the program or not, gets a card. And the card is either supported by their parents or it isn't. If the child's parents are not able to support the card, then they're in the program. But everyone has a card, and no one knows which one's which except the office.
But Diana, I think your point is that the program fills that child's card.
Right. Yeah, right.
So, do some of them does everybody get a free lunch if they need it?
Well, so there are children who are on the list whose parents are low income, and when they qualify for that list, then they're given a card that is subsidized by the government. And so the cards are, my only point was that the cards are all identical, and no one knows, whose cards are being subsidized and whose are not.
Oh, I thought they were all subsidized. I'm totally misunderstood.
No. Children whose parents, it's only children who come from low income families. The cards are identical, but it's only the children who are coming from low income families that are subsidized.
And otherwise the parents fill it out and then they have to pay.
Yeah, they it's like a Starbucks card. You just keep putting money into it. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I was really very excited to hear that. I thought they were all getting free lunches. Thank you, Diane.
No, but I mean, I don't agree with that point of view, but in any case, we didn't, there were some things missing from my minutes. So one of them was that our Jackie Spear is going to start a Jackie Spear Foundation that's going to be focused on, as we're saying, low-income children and their families. And because many of the programs kind of miss that critical group. And she's been such a supporter of women and children this whole time. So her target are the many millionaires and in some cases billionaires in our county, and she's going to go after them to help support the underserved. And let's see, the other thing, we're still circling back, trying to find out the status of the resolution that was to go to the Board of Supervisors from the Juvenile Justice Commission. So hopefully we'll have eventually a report on that. That's all I have. And Ray gave a great report on the housing. There's already an affordable housing complex that's planned and will take a year to be built on the worst of the two farms that were visited in the last couple of weeks. So that's
how can we support Anna Eschew's work?
So it's called the
Jackie Spear
Foundation. Yeah, Jackie Spear Foundation. I don't know whether it's up yet, but at the point that it is, we definitely do need to support it. That would be great.
Yeah, and I know that we're hoping we can have Jackie come and talk to us about what her new foundation will do and how can we be involved.
Exactly.
But yes, good. It's a good focus on women and children. That's good to hear. We're down to the end. Are there any announcements anyone wants to make?
Perhaps while we have so many members here, we could talk about preferences, whether people are interested in going back to in-person meetings and when they would feel comfortable doing that. Can we kind of poll people?
Or under what conditions or something?
Yeah. I'll speak first. I'd love to have us go back. I'm anxious to see everybody. And I loved our in-person meetings. So, you know, it feels a lot safer out there. So
yeah, it felt a lot safer when we got together for our annual party until 2 of us got COVID from it.
Yeah.
So
why didn't we all get it, Marshall?
Because your guardian angel was there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't see the 2 people kissing in the backyard.
But in any case, I think
who did get it.
It's a matter of, you know, we'll take a look at the conditions. And if the condition, it seems to be going down, but there's a concern about a wave of another version. We'll take a look. I'm not ready. I'd be happy to have a hybrid of, you know, a Zoom and in person. Then people want to go, they can go.
I think in any case, whatever we do, we should make it hybrid.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say, Greg. I agree 100%.
But I think it's easy. I think it's important to ask people. I mean, if only 3 people will go to in person and all the rest want to do it from home, then there'd be no point in doing it in person. So it'd be good just to hear how people feel about it.
Diana, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to report that the annual pop-up for the Black History Museum is now in Redwood City on the corner of Middlefield and Jefferson, where the whole, World Market was, that location across from the Jefferson Library. And it's amazing. And I would encourage you to stop by. There's a suggested donation of $5. And but it is amazing, and we need, in my opinion, we need to support it, and it takes a lot to get it ramped up, and it's a huge piece of work. So please stop by. Thank you. It will be there for the rest of the month.
Okay. Bill?
I first second Diana's emotion about the Black History Month museum. I hardly support that too. I've been going to that for a number of years. It's an amazing place if you haven't been there. And if you have been there, you should go back again because they keep getting new stuff. But I also want to second, I don't know if it's Marshall or Ashley, I would favor a hybrid meeting, but I would also say I would be one of those people who would show up as part of the in-person crowd in a hybrid. But I think we should have hybrid for those people who, for one reason or another, can't be personally present in face-to-face, so we keep them in the circle.
Yeah. And engaged. Yep. And I saw in comments, Nancy Goodman said the same. She'd love to meet in person. Shirley?
Yeah, yes, I'd like to voice my opinion on that too, being a hybrid for a meeting, because so many people have a hard time maybe driving at night, and it's easier to be at home as opposed to being in person, even though it's nice. And they can go whenever they want to, or whenever they can, they stay at home. So I favor a hybrid.
I think there's no question that when we go back to in-person, they will be hybrid.
Well, and one of the benefits of that is our speakers do not have to be in person. So we could still have Dave Rosenfeld from Portland, Oregon as a speaker, because he would be coming in over the internet with that. So there's some real benefits to doing that.
And we could have Flavia.
Exactly, because we don't want to lose Flavia and Carrie, and anybody else that is, you know, maybe you're away and you want to join the meeting.
Or an
Elsa,
speaker.
But as I said, though, we've already decided that when we go back in person, those meetings will be hybrid. So that is not the question, really. The question is, when do we want to go back to the in-person?
I think you have to decide this based on the state of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm willing to go back in person this minute because I would try and be careful, quote unquote, despite the fact that the Christmas party or holiday party happened that way. So I'm an in-person person.
We can always wait. We can always wait until the president does his thing that he's going to release.
Yeah, but can I ask something? Are we finished with this topic? Can I add one more topic?
Well, no, because okay, I think we've got Marna wants to make a comment.
I think that the warm season is what allowed me to come to a live meeting with all of you, because the germ season gets so much less. And so I think it's really great to keep the hybrid idea going, because you just have that structure then that no matter what time of year different people can come and go, there's going to be the way that they can do it. And I'll be doing it coming alive in the hottest time of year or warmest time, and somebody else will come at a different time or all the time in person. So I just like the idea of the choice they're giving everybody to just keep it 12 months a year as a hybrid.
Good point. All right, Elsa, back to you. And it's after 9 o'clock, so let's finish up.
Okay, so I'm going to a different topic, but I heard overwhelming, yes, let's go in person when we can, because we're going hybrid. So I just put into the chat something about the Peace Act, which has just been introduced into both chambers of Congress by both Senator Alex Padilla and Congressman Ro Khanna. So I love our two Californians working together. And they're calling it the Peace Act, but the simple summary of it is to prioritize de-escalation over excessive force, clearly in law enforcement. So that's a training thing, and it's also a culture thing. But I think the degree to which, so if you click on some of the links that I've put in there, you can get to, Rose, the one who sent this out, but you can get to Rose's site saying, yes, please do this, I'm supporting you. But I think having us encourage that so that the idea, not defund the police, but it's de-escalation over excessive force. I think that's a really good 4 words way to summarize it. Thank you.
Okie dokie. And I think we are at our end, and it's 9:03, and time to say good night. It's been a great evening, guys. It's lovely to see everybody.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you, Susie. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see each other again in person soon. We'll have to see what org can organize and get us back going and get a hybrid meeting.
Well, if anybody can organize, it's organized. So we should be fine.
Are you biased? And next time we do have Noelia Corzo. And I would just like to frame the contrast for a sec. Ray has been in political life for a good long time. He is phenomenal, obviously. How lucky are we? Noelia has not been in political life. She is 32, single mother, social worker, fabulous head of the board of her school district. We will hear quite a difference in knowledge base and other things. And I think they will both be fascinating. I think they are both crucial to this board. It's hard to imagine getting better representation on that board. And I would also like to think, instead of, well, he represents this district, she represents that district, and those people, they represent us all. And we know that we go to the supervisors who speak our language best on whatever issue it is at the time. We use them as the starting point and then have them help spread the dominoes. But just so you know, you're going to hear a very different experience base among so many other things. Thank you.
I have to add about Noelia's experience. She has a political experience, but it's a different kind of experience that she brings. And it's a very unique experience that nobody on the county board has ever brought before. And that's of a woman of color, a single mother, a woman who's come out of poverty, she's been through a lot of things, and you can bet that there's a lot of political experience behind that. And I would also add that she was one of the people I saw last night in Half Moon Bay providing logistical support during the candlelight procession we had from the memorial down to the Ides Hall, where we had this incredible dinner with I don't know how many hundreds of people that the Portuguese community helped put on. And as I came out, I saw Christina Corpus there in a long interview with a Spanish-speaking news station, and it was so great to see her.
But this is why it was important for us to have 2 meetings and not both of them together, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Susie. Thank you, Elsa.